Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another iteration of Tears Don't Fall. This week,
we hit it up Muse, my dudes!
Yeah! Luke's pick.
This is my pick for the week. Last week, Cons got the Black Dahlia Murder. My response to 5.5 hours of blast beats was melancholy and melodrama.
Yeah.
I think it's a punishment most foul.
It's a punishment fit for the crime, though.
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
It's I think we've already opened Pandora's box here, and it's just going to go downhill.
Definitely.
And just be more self-sabotaging every week.
Yeah, I think someone in the Discord, I think it was Adam in the Discord, used the term spiteful.
Yes,
I think that's yeah, it's going to become
definitely
the name of the game.
So yeah, since my funny salvo of let's do Muse, it is a guilty pleasure of mine, and I am a fragile bean. And I think I've made a grave mistake. I've gone to places I probably shouldn't have revisited.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear this.
And I am just going to break down on camera. Oh, God. Okay. So, some backgrounds for
let's
Muse.
talk. Yeah, tell me where you're coming. Where you're coming to this from, where I'm coming.
Yeah. From. So my angle. I am a fan of Muse from about 15 years back. Mm-hmm. I first got into Muse around Black Holes and Revelations, and just launched from there. I believe I first caught them on Rage. It could be Knights of Sidonia that was on, and I guess there was just a general buzz about Muse in the playgrounds prior to that. They really carried me through high school. They were one of my formative bands that really got me into music outside of a metal sphere.
Yep, okay.
Just in a broader sense, and getting me into more like accepting more pop stylings and more rock stylings, and more appreciation for piano-based music as well.
Cool.
So they did quite a good bit for me. Then drifted apart for a fair while, and I thought, why don't we revisit it, roast his review it, and see if it still holds up. So that is the question we'll be answering tonight. Connor.
Okay, so I have a bit of a petty kind of backstory with Muse. I was introduced to them by a friend at the time who was like my best friend at the time was getting into guitar and getting into music, and around this time I was slowly starting to find my own tastes as well, and he would spin Muse constantly and insisted that they were so fucking good and they were so cool and that I should really get into them, and I really tried, but for reasons that I'll get into, they weren't for me at the time. And eventually this friendship kind of ended, not on bitter terms, but kind of sad terms for me personally. So I've had a really negative association with this band for the longest time, and have kind of resigned myself to being like, nah, fuck them. So being forced to confront that. Like, not only did I had to like think on like past like anxieties and neuroses.
Wow, I'm glad I gave you some
with
demons.
Matt Bellamy going in my fucking ears the whole time. Not the best psych session I've ever had. Gotta be fucking honest.
Oh, great. I believe we were traveling, I think we were doing a flyer drop or something in the city. Yeah. And I popped the question of, hey, can we put on some Muse? And you gave me an absolute death stare, and I was like, oh. And I think we had the realization that my aversion to My Chemical Romance is about the same, and I think they're sort of like equivalent bands.
They
in that sense.
Yeah, two sides of the same coin.
I think they hold a similar slot. My frustrations towards that may be yours to Muse in kind. So
Chris said that. The worst Chris in chat says that was a good impression. Angry face. All right. Well, nice. Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So
let's hit up TDF.
Let's do it.
All right.
Now, thank you very much to Riddle Hacks in chat. Made the wonderful suggestion of having the albums that we're talking about somewhere on screen to indicate for anybody jumping in and not knowing where we're at. You'll be able to follow along much easier this week. So, Luke, take us away.
All right. Well, all good stories start from the beginning, and I don't know if this one's a good story. Let's find out.
Except for Christopher Nolan stories. Continue.
Yes, of course. Now, Showbiz, their Muse's debut release. I think it's worth having a little bit of a preamble to contextualize Muse in the beginning.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Matt Bellamy's father was the guitarist for a band called the Tornadoes in the 60s.
Okay.
And they put out the first ever UK track to make a US #1 single to top the charts. So Matt Bellamy comes from a family that's fairly well off in the musical sphere, all things considered. However, money doesn't purchase talent nor songwriting chops. So how does Showbiz stack up? I give Showbiz a solid C. I think it sits well in the C category. For some Muse fans, that may be a fair bit too low. I know this album is fairly C for celebrated, but I feel that this album is so ingrained in the 90s, it's impossible to separate that marriage of grunge elements and the alt rock styling. I'm not a grunge man myself. I've got a real chip on my shoulder regarding grunge, which is not going to be great for Showbiz. I can't forgive grunge for killing hair metal, and yes, I know that hair metal killed hair metal, but I'm not going to come to terms with that today.
Okay.
That's I'll cross that. I'll cross that another time.
Sure.
So with those real grungy fuzzy tones, I find it hard crossing that bridge. But Showbiz does carry the performance and structure of an alternative rock record. It's just like the tempo and the fuzz that has that. So I have a real affinity for transparent album openers, and the opening track, Sunburn, does this with aplomb. It's really it presents what the album has to offer on face value, and I really appreciate that. It's like a snapshot of the album in like a little digestible chunk right at the start.
Yeah, sure.
I feel it's a very honest way to open an album, and it's something I wish I saw more of, and I really like that. I think that this album does do a lot good, and it's just I would rate it higher if this wasn't just my personal take. I think this album could justifiably be in an A or S for many people. Maybe not an S, maybe an A at most. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I feel that tracks such as Muscle Museum, which is the single of the album, and are a bit derivative. They feel like gritty variations on existing musical standards. And it gives it it gives this album a bit of a university band feel.
Yeah, okay, I can hear that.
I don't know if that's a universal term that people can grab onto, but my time going through tertiary and secondary education through music, there's a very distinct brand of like Red Hot Chili Peppers-esque like trendy teens jumping together, and this album reeks of it. I feel like Matt Bellamy is really self-serving on this record in particular, and is still sort of finding his feet on how much how much Muse is a platform for him as opposed to being its own entity. And I think Showbiz struggles with the identity there. Connor?
You just said a mouthful, my friend. So my initial spin of this was fucking torturous.
Oh, wow!
Overwrought, uninteresting, poorly paced, and bringing very little to the arena of alt rock, which I am not a gladiator in it all. I'm occasionally a viewer, but bringing very little to the arena of alt rock other than a raised pinky. What do I mean by that? It's fucking pretentious. I messaged you immediately after listening to it and was like, dude, this is fucked. And I was fully expecting to have a miserable time with the rest of their catalogue as a result of this.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Revisiting it after listening to the rest of their catalogue and having a better understanding of the band and an appreciation for some of their more unique qualities, it made for a much less dispassionate listen and even some enjoyable moments. As such, I put it at a C.
Okay,
In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's... I couldn't... As I was going back through, finalising all my picks, I was like, I can't, in good conscience, put this at a D, considering what came after.
I think there is that as well.
I think I'm no longer... The pretentiousness no longer shocked or infuriated me revisiting it, because I kind of understood that's kind of their point of difference in the genre, is that they are really pretentious.
It's a pill that I think you just have to swallow, for entry.
Well, it's a quality that absolutely can work to their advantage.
Yeah.
However,
it does, or
no.
After,
here I feel like I still feel like this record does little more than make 50 minutes of alt rock feel like 60 minutes of alt rock, especially in the meandering second half.
I think Muse have a real as we go forward, I feel like their albums are very front loaded. This album in particular has a lot of introspection, in the guts of it. Like deep in the center, it is just a lot of slow, sad, introspective tracks, and I do get that. I feel like the pacing really fails and falters here
completely. That said,
but I don't understand. Like, I'm not a lyrics man. I think Muse is very lyric centric, so I'm looking at this from a different lens too.
It is, but I find, especially on this album, I find his delivery really fucking unengaging. So I don't know. I'm usually a lyrics man. I usually find myself listening to the vocals and what they're actually saying first and foremost. But here I'm like his delivery, for the most part, in most instances, my eyes glaze over, and it becomes the way you listen to vocals in music a lot of the time. It becomes this textural thing, which I like in many instances to come. And having said all this, the qualities I found myself captivated by on future releases are here in their infancy. I think the title track in particular is a good example of their their burgeoning ability to build to these crescendos. That becomes really exciting as we go on. But on this album, it's kind of an outlier, I think, and just serves to make the album feel a bit more pretentious.
It sets a precedence. That's for sure.
Serves, like it feels like this album is really self-serving. You mentioned the Matt Bellamy thing. I think I didn't have that context for where he was coming at this from.
And you're like, oh my God, is it all this?
Oh, ding, ding, ding. It makes total sense. And God, you said the like university band. I would place it at high school band just because of my association. I have this vivid fucking memory of my friend who was really into Muse repeatedly singing Unintended.
Right, like, you said you got PTSD.
Dude. Christ.
I had not explored Muse's formative albums before this. I entered from Absolution, which is their third album. So the first few albums are completely unexplored territory for me. There are a few tracks that were familiar, but I never... and consuming an album in context is an entirely different beast as well. I have two things to put forth. Firstly, like on what you mentioned. If you're focusing on lyrics, I feel like Muse is going to get real old real fast. I don't know if there's much progression in what Matt has to say.
We'll get into this.
Yeah,
we'll get into this.
But I don't know because I'm not a lyrics man.
Yeah.
And two, if we look at this album as a debut release and how much it establishes the band to come, if we compare this to, say, our previous TDFs of Kill 'Em All and Unhallowed, I think that this as a debut standalone release presents more of what Muse is in their essence than, say, Unhallowed does for Black Dahlia, or even Kill 'Em All does for Metallica.
Yeah.
I think that if it wasn't for a few Larsisms in Kill 'Em All, they're largely unrecognizable bands when put against something like Black Album or even maybe as early as Master of Puppets. In certain tracks.
Yeah.
So, but here, like, everything is very distinctly Muse. There's or slash Radiohead. But that being said, it is the same producer that produced the Bends. Which was this album came out, I think, 4 years after the Bends.
Yeah, I did read that.
Which I was not aware of previously, and that makes a lot of sense.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
Let's. All right, so moving forward. Origin of Symmetry. I had not listened to this album until as soon as, really, this was the final album in the catalogue that I tackled before rinsing back through chronological order. And oh my lord, I rate this S for Slept On. Holy shit. I was speaking with someone last night regarding Origin of Symmetry, and that was a big mistake, me not checking out Origin of Symmetry after all the recommendations through I used to read a lot of Guitar World as a teen, and this album was always referenced as a go-to for a burgeoning guitarist, and I should have listened. I don't know if I would have appreciated it as much of the time.
Okay.
But I had this tier, this whole TDF structured so clearly in my mind. Everything had such a clear slot. And then I listened to this album and everything got thrown out of the water.
Wow.
I did not know what to do with this episode after listening to this album. This record is just like all feel. I don't often lean into feel of a record, but this is just, it has it in droves, dude. I'm just blown away. This album feels so real, and I think Matt Bellamy really earns his theatrics here. What was lacking in Showbiz, or what felt like he was performing over everyone else and everything was subservient to Matt, here the music is just really, like, the performance is raw and sincere, and the crescendos they're relentless, they're muddy and explosive, and it feels like this album is about to break at the seams. As it, like, all the way through, honestly, but particular tracks, which I'll get into a bit later on, feel like they are, like, the album is just about to clip and explode. And I feel like I'm stuck in the passenger seat of this vessel that's just hurtling out of control through this whole record, and there's nothing I can do about it. But that's the only way to get. But it's about the journey there. It's not where we're going. Yeah. Like that uncontrollable hurdle is something that I don't experience in many albums, and I was fucking blown away by this.
Wow!
I did not know that Muse had that expression in them. As a collective, it's so often I always perceive it as the Matt Bellamy Show on Friends, and this is just the whole band on fire. The production is sitting in this beautiful spot where it's not polished yet, and that just services everything so well. And I think that's what made me go, hold on. After listening to this album, everything else sounds so restrained, and it sounds like it's so lifeless comparatively. And I just recontextualized the band for me there. I'm in awe of this record, and
sure.
In a way, I'm glad I got to familiarize myself with everything else, then hit this, because it just it feels like I've just zoomed out on my little pasture of Muse, and there's a way greener meadow all the way around, and I'm going, oh shit, I'm in the wrong place.
I was in Showbiz County.
I think in stark contrast to the time capsule that is Showbiz, Origin of Symmetry feels particularly timeless. Where Showbiz is very dated to 90s reeks of it, I feel like this could exist any point in time. Like tracks like Space Dementia incorporate classical piano arpeggios. They have walls of oscillating synths and string sections. It's like the past, present, and future are all coalescing like at the same time. I know that's very frilly. It's very chimey, but it does feel that way when I listen to it. I go, this feels a bit transcendental of a second album from where they came from. Connor, please take it away. I could go on about this all day.
Sure. Well, I mean, feel free to chime in at any point. It definitely feels like a leap from Showbiz, certainly, and hearing you that excited about it, this could easily pivot for me in the future. I was very pleasantly surprised upon my first listen of this to find that I didn't fucking hate it. I was so sure that this was going to be the worst time, but I hit play and I was really absorbed. I think I found myself enjoying a great deal of it. I still place it at a B at this point, just because I like more of what's to come more than this at this point at time of recording. I think while the air of pretension does linger a bit here, gone is the thick fog that permeated Showbiz, or at least that's my initial impression of it. There's a much greater sense of immediacy on this album. Well, exactly, an urgency. There's a sense of urgency, and some really fucking decent riffs, like hyper music. There's some other tracks on here. Give me a sec. I think Citizen Erased, maybe. I'm still familiarizing myself with all the names and stuff. But there's some stuff in there that almost sounds kind of like later career Rage Against the Machine-esque.
That's fair.
Not quite Rage Against the Machine. It's sticking like passive-aggressive post-it notes on the machine.
Let's get back to passive against the post-it note against the machine. I want to hit that one up later as well.
Okay, all right, cool. And I think that it makes for a far more gratifying listen than its predecessor. And none of that comes at the expense of exploration. It's not like they just went, all right, well, let's just make a really riffy album. There's still plenty of exploration on offer here, as you've mentioned and put beautifully. I think getting to hear the kind of sci-fi trimmings that really become part of their sound and a really distinct quality of their sound here was really exciting. I think it brings a freshness and a really distinctive quality to this album that Showbiz was sorely lacking.
It makes it even more Radioheady as well. It sort of defines that, and then
completely with illiterate. With Radiohead, like completely ignorant to Radiohead. So I couldn't make that comparison.
Yeah, sure.
I still find the back half of this record to be a little bit meandering and a little bit fatiguing, but the front half has some really standout moments. I think the opener sets the tone really masterfully, as you pointed out. I think tracks like Bliss and Plug-in Baby show their aptitude for writing singles with a little bit more bite to them than maybe their peers would be writing. Again, I'm not...
I think by this time... Matt has installed a fuzz pedal and maybe even some sort of synth directly into his guitar at this point.
Okay.
So he's just modified his guitar and he has his rig inside his axe.
Sure, that'll do it. I don't know. I play drums, I hit stuff. And I think Citizen Erased and Space Dementia feel like the first tracks in their catalogue where the pretentiousness really serves the song, and it feels like they start to really nail what you got a glimpse of in the title track of Showbiz that you talked about it a little bit with Black Dahlia Murder in relation to their album like pacing of like Ever Black and stuff, but that pendulous kind of songwriting. And they have a real fucking knack for it that I find really compelling. And I'm excited to get future releases because it comes more and more.
They're really good at it when they hit it. And when they don't, it fucking stinks.
We'll get into it. I placed it at a B, but I think spending more time with it, it could easily go to an A. Again, time and recording stuff.
There are a bunch of... In this record, I hear so many... I know you call them like museisms, but so many songwriting tricks or songwriting tools that... feel like are formed in this record, and they run through the rest of their career. Tropes, I guess you could say. There are ways that they do arpeggio voicings that I absolutely love, and I've adopted a lot of these techniques into my own songwriting. The way they build arpeggios, they like build them in a way that they can do a lot with a little. So stuff like it's on Newborn and Screenager, where there'll be 4 different chords, but it'll only be one note that moves in the whole chord to move the chord. But it's rearranged in a way that it's hardly moving the actual position of the chord, almost as if you have, like, imagine each note is a separate singer, like an alto, a tenor, soprano, a baritone, and only one person changes one note, and all of a sudden that's a completely different tone, and then another one changes another note, and then another one does that, and then all of a sudden, and they're not going far, they're only moving one semitone up or down. But it adds, it brings such an efficiency to it that I really enjoy, and it really helps with the tonality. Like, they're able to keep that little pocket of the mix, that little like frequency pocket to each part of the instrumentation, so they can build these massive soundscapes that don't bleed into each other. I think that's what they're doing anyway. And I really love that. And they keep exploring that through the rest of their career, and it's something I really admire, the way they write. Like stuff like Micro Cuts shows all these choppy polyrhythms that they... it's like they're hitting these really progressive elements, which I was not expecting that early on. And they use the Andalusian cadence really well, which is moving from a...
Explain.
Which has moved from the 1-7-6-5 in chord progression. They use the in Citizen Erased here. They use it in Absolution in the interlude, and in Resistance, the title track. It's like the same progression as the Burning Red by Machine Head.
Cool.
It's every Iron Maiden song ever. It's a really metal progression. And they use it here in a non-metal way, and they use it with strings and symphonies, and it's beautiful.
Cool.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's something I have I really lust for that progression, and it's really cool to hear them use that in a new context.
Awesome.
And it's so all these things combining is like what I love about their songwriting, and this is the birthplace of it all.
Cool. That's a beautiful way to put it. All right.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. I'm done wanking for this album.
Let's wank not
over Absolution.
Yeah, dude.
All right. So the follow-up. Now this is, to me, I guess a big commercial breakout for the band. This is where Muse takes those elements of like those raw elements and starts constraining them, starts restricting themselves for the purpose of more marketability. I think they do it for staggeringly impressive results. It's where their like classical and Baroque elements start to take the stage. They definitely lean into that direction from here on out a lot more. And I think that's to their benefit. This album really defines their trajectory for the rest of their career. It's that pop sensibility that comes in here that does not leave. And here, I think it's a really beautiful blend. I really, really cannot name a single track of this album that does not belong.
Yeah. Okay.
I think every song on this album is a hit.
All right.
Yeah.
May I?
Please.
All right. Okay. Let me consult my notes. Okay. Out the gate on this album.
Yep.
I think what this album has, in addition to the best qualities of the last album in particular, and whatever good that Showbiz had, it's there as well, is angst and a sense of melodrama.
Yeah.
That gives the more pretentious aspects of their sound a sense of purpose and a theatricality that I find utterly fucking absorbing. I placed this at an A, but shit. I'm really torn. I was flip-flopping on this being A and S for fucking ages. I'll get into my reasoning of why another album is an S for me compared to this later. But man, it was so close. I just happened to. Again, I could wake up tomorrow and be like,
feel it on the day.
What did I do? Because I really fucking love this album. I think it's by far the most focused and considered album thus far for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could make that call across their whole catalogue, but I'm sure some could argue that. I think the way the album is structured and paced means it's constantly treating you to something new.
Yeah.
The slower
Perfect
tracks...
pacing.
Where previously would have felt meandering and fatiguing after like track 7, here they take on a meditative quality and serve as a rewarding respite after the more bombastic numbers. See Falling Away, what's it called?
Falling Away With You.
Falling Away With You coming after Stockholm Syndrome, and Blackout coming out after Hysteria.
Into Butterflies.
Butterflies and Time Is Running Out serve as, I think, the best examples of that pendulous songwriting we were talking about. And their ability to build to these really dizzying crescendos that I mean, maybe it's because I'm not listening to enough prog metal, but I haven't. It's not something I hear in metal. This
album is so dynamic. It's such a funny thing because Origin of Symmetry, the performances are so not loose, but everything feels completely unrestrained. So that dynamic range, that rush and like the ebb and flow of the dynamic range makes it makes more sense, I guess, in Origin of Symmetry, how you can pull that off, as opposed to Absolution, where everything has this pop sensibility. It's like everything is naturally compressed to give it that more consumable bent, but they still make it work. These songs crescendo, they get so fucking loud.
Yeah, again, it's not at the cost of like that pop sensibility, that marketability. I mean, a track like Hysteria, it doesn't come at the cost of a track like Butterflies and Hurricanes.
No,
like it's they do it all on this album, and it's fucking awesome.
I think it's possibly their strongest quality in this area of their career is just how dynamic they are.
Yeah.
It carries so much weight.
Yeah, and I think Matt Bellamy's vocals on this album are the least grating. Like I found myself. Again, it feels like everything is in service of the album. It feels like perhaps the first album, it's the Matt Bellamy show for sure, and it feels like maybe. Reading reviews from the time, it seems as though people like that they got. I saw a lot of like 3-star kind of reviews and a lot of the word pretentious getting thrown around because it's a thing. Yeah. And maybe that was like the slap on the wrist he needed, like to a little bit of like hey, you're not that fucking clever, dickhead. And he kind of went like, oh, okay, I guess I better write songs that people enjoy instead of just jerking off and then making them look at the crusty stains. And he did.
Yeah.
And
here he drenches his voice in distortion. Where if he did frills, they'd just be hidden in this fuzz. So
is it hidden in every track though? I feel like it's key moments where it feels distorted. Like again on Hysteria and stuff.
Like differing levels. but like here, not
absolutely,
but
yeah. I can recall trying to get into this album. This was one of the ones that my friend told me to get into. This and the follow-up. So I think I would have got into them around the same time as you got into them. And I can recall
avoided them.
Trying my best and just not getting much out of it. It wasn't that I wasn't getting it. It was more that I was listening to it and I remember thinking, get the fuck on with it.
Yeah,
like I wanted something more explosive and more overtly pissed off than what was offered here.
Yeah.
And so I went down we talked about My Chemical Romance.
Yeah,
I think was it earlier in this thing?
I did mention.
It was, yeah. So I went down that path because that is very, it's comic book. It's not cerebral. It's very like, I'm not okay, you know? Like, and that's where I went.
Yeah.
But coming back to this, I get it and I got a lot out of it and I fucking froth this record.
It's really,
again,
really strong.
Could just as easily be an S. I put it at A partially because I feel like, as much as I really don't dislike any of the songs on this album, I feel like you could maybe take the scissors to one or two tracks and make it a little bit shorter. I do value brevity.
Yeah.
So
maybe track 14.
Look,
I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's one of the ballads. It's the final ballad.
I think Ruled by Secrecy.
Could be.
Secrecy is an okay closer.
Yeah,
I think honestly, because by that point in the album they've done. By that point in the album, they've done the whole like tough song, soft song, tough song, soft song, big crescendo kind of rotation thing enough times that you're like, yeah, I get it. I like it, but I get it. I think taking out the small print and endlessly, going straight into Thoughts of a Dying Atheist and then ending with Ruled by Secrecy, that could make things a little more succinct.
A little more neat, definitely.
Yeah.
I really like
those tracks. Yeah, I really like the small print as a track though. So I'm kind of torn.
It's probably the most raw track on the album.
Yeah, it's cool.
It feels like it harkens back to their opening albums.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah, same here.
Absolution.
Yeah,
beautiful.
I froth this album.
Yeah. All right.
And actually, I will say one more thing about this album. This album, I listened to, my initial run through of all these was chronological, so I went through the whole discography chronologically to start off with. This album was Dos Beans, dude. I could not fucking stop thinking about this album as I was listening to every subsequent album. And it initially made each subsequent album worse as a listening experience because I was like, I just want to be listening to fucking Absolution.
That's where I was with Nocturnal last week.
Yeah.
With Black Dahlia Murder.
Yep.
I wish every album could be Nocturnal.
Yeah.
And then this week I was that with Origin of Symmetry. I was like, the bravado, everything, the stars aligned. And there's absolute recency bias there as well.
Yeah.
I've known Absolution for 15 years. I've known Origin of Symmetry for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But it's just that, like, it's that, it makes you fucking feel, man. It's exciting.
Yeah, totally. That's great. That's that chasing the dragon.
But
we talked about.
So bold to like equal ranks on an S, but let's move on to Black Holes and Revelations.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Now, I want to say, you can start this, but I just really want to say I felt very at home on looking at this record. Look at those four bald men. It's like, my people.
I can be a fifth wheel.
My countrymen. Yeah. So,
nice.
Go.
All right. Black Holes and Revelations is the album that I was exposed to Muse, or rather, they exposed themselves. They forced themselves onto me.
Matt.
When balancing this tier list in my mind, this album was a shoe-in S. There is nothing that could dethrone it, and it could do no wrong. It's an A. I feel like Absolution does this album better. This album loses a lot of that aggression that Absolution brings to the table, and I think they start leaning into this like radio rock direction. I love it. I really, really love it. It doesn't have a bad song on it. But maybe Absolution, maybe not. I feel like this is an album full of singles. It doesn't feel as united as Origin of Symmetry or Absolution.
Huh.
These songs don't flow into each other and don't service each other as well as those albums do. It's not as much of a rewarding listen to consume as an album, and that's why this is an A.
Sure. Okay. All right. I feel almost the inverse of what you feel here.
Okay.
I will say, initially when I put this on, I remember really liking the song Starlight as a kid. I hit play here, and again, after Absolution was fresh in my mind, it was Thos Beans. Mm-hmm. Hearing Starlight, hearing the ding, 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 ding,
it was my year 12 I was like, performance.
Yeah, I was like, fucking Coldplay core bullshit. And I was prepared to hate it. But coming back to it and really immersing myself in this album, I place this at an S.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like the songs maybe don't necessarily service each other, but I feel like as an album, I really like the way it evolves from... like, Take a Bow feels like this kind of ominous prologue to the album. Mm-hmm. And then you get into Starlight, which is this really like Coldplay core banger single, and then Supermassive Black Hole comes in, it's a bit darker.
Yeah.
Map of the Problematique comes in, and then Soldier's Poem feels like this interlude that takes us into Invincible, which I was really surprised at how much... I started... This was my first listen to Invincible. I was like, fuck, this is boring. Fuck, this is wank. And then at about the... I mean, it's a 5-minute song. At about the 3-minute mark, it changes, and then it ramps up, and it brings the chorus that I'd previously found really kind of annoying back. It recontextualizes it in a way that made me go, oh, fuck, this is really cool. Okay. And now it's one of my favorite tracks.
Yeah.
And then Assassin comes in, and it's got this meanness to it, which I think is carried through Exopolitics and City of Delusion. And then Hoodoo is this kind of last-minute interlude bringing us into Knights of Sidonia, which I think is a fucking wonderful way to close an album, and it ends in a way that all I want to do is hit play again and run that whole thing over.
Cool.
And I mentioned really valuing brevity. It's a 45-minute roughly album.
Yeah.
And I think that's
which is
a really
nice. It's one of their shortest.
Length. Yeah.
That's one of their shortest.
And considering where they go from here, that you mentioned like the pop sensibility and and I said the Coldplay core thing, that becomes more and more a part of their shtick from here on out.
Yeah, I feel like the Coldplay core is well and truly at play here.
Yeah. And but considering that that's kind of where they wanted to go from here, I feel like this is the best marriage of what came before and what's to come after. I think, again, I could go either way with Absolution being an S or an A. This I classify as an S. I think it's a
nah, dog.
Yeah, masterful.
Nah, dog.
Marriage of the two things in terms of where they go.
Not an S. Not in any world.
Okay.
No.
All right. hey, don't say not in any world, motherfucker. You opened this with, this was going to be an S, man. Well, I was going to put this in this. I'm sorry you got a fresh you popped a fresh boner for fucking Origin of Symmetry. Fucking, not in any world, man.
Yeah.
Nah, man. Fucking.
Yeah, I know.
S for suck my nuts, dude.
Yeah, get him, Sugma.
Sugma. All right, I will say, though, I mentioned before the idea that people went, fucking Matt, you're not that clever, all right? And he went, oh, fuck, all right, and wrote some really cool shit.
Yeah.
Wrote Origin of Symmetry, wrote Absolution, wrote this, and people went, hey, dude, that's actually really clever. And he went, I am really clever.
Yeah.
And the world collectively went, oh no.
Oh no. Put it back in the corner. Yeah. It's too late.
Adam
out of the house.
Adam alluded to my fart sniffing analogy.
Uh-huh.
You weren't getting through this without a fart sniffing analogy, dude.
It was going to be there.
After this album, we enter the what I call the chocolate rain years, because he moves away from the mic to breathe in his own farts.
And don't they taste fucking sweet?
Yuggy. Fucking yuggy.
My favorite album.
Don't even fucking joke, cunt.
I'm not.
What do you mean? This is your favorite album?
This is my favorite Muse album.
You've drunk the fucking Muse Flavor Aid.
I drunk the Yogo, dude.
You drank the Yogo.
I drank the Bellamy Yogo.
No.
All right,
you're gonna have to. I can see some people popping off in chat here.
All right,
you're gonna have to explain yourself.
The year is 2009. I have just got into Muse, Black Holes and Revelations. I think at this point I'm in year 12, so I have just read 1984. I cannot remember whether it was for school or through my own volition. Probably school. I'm a prime faux intellectual. I've just read the greatest work of our time, and the greatest artist of our time comes and drops a concept album about 1984. You know my dick so hard. This record got me through high school easily. I was riding that faux train all the way to Progtown. This is a sick pop prog record. I absolutely rate this, and there is a whole fucking load of personal bias at bay. Unfortunately, same reason as what Origin of Symmetry's brought forward. I think it's only an A. Yeah. I don't know how I could have put this an A and not an S just a few days ago. I think it's possibly not aged as well as I would have liked. But
how so?
I will address this as we move forward through the rankings. I have some questions and some introspection to make.
Okay,
but
I would like to just point out that your ranking of this album and your praise of it blew our lights up. So, you know.
Yeah, sorry, too much carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Gavin Lights didn't like mistake either.
Maybe it was a case of those beans clogging my mind. Maybe it's. I haven't read 1984. Maybe I'm too fucking smooth-brained to understand why this album's so great. Having said that, D for Dum Dum over here.
What the fuck?
Fuck this album.
What the fuck?
Fuck this album, dude.
Judas!
Yeah, nah.
Judas!
Yeah, nah. Look.
No,
man.
No.
Look, this feels like you talked about his lyrics earlier. On Absolution and especially on Black Holes and Revelations, there's a very strong lean into like war bad, bush bad territory, and it's like, yeah, cool. And on here, the self-righteousness that is like nailed into my skull with.
Yeah,
I find it so unappealing. I found it really gross.
The whole album is built around it's like totalitarian ideals of 1984.
Yeah, you're playing arena rock, cunt. You're charging $150 for a ticket.
Now, okay. Yeah, okay. Now you did this first. You opened up Rage Against the Machine.
Hey,
I feel like this is the same.
I'm with you on this.
Yeah, okay.
You converted me on this.
So, how can Rage Against the Machine get away Rage Against the Machine when they're signed to fucking Sony BMG? Same shit here. And I'll concede that, absolutely.
Same shit here.
How can you be so against the system when you are enforcing it in your own industry?
I will say, okay, here's how. With fucking riffs, which are notably absent on this release. All right, I will say, MK Ultra, which is playing right now. Watch us live so you can fucking listen. But VOD, we're listening to MK Ultra right now. I like this song. There's some cool shit going on here. And there's some cool shit going on sonically on this album that they expand upon on subsequent releases, which I like. But I find the whole package really fucking unappealing. Like, it rubbed me up so the wrong way that at time of recording, again, I may come back to this album in a month's time, in a week's time, and go, maybe I was too hard on it. At time of recording,
it's not a riffy record. It's a hooky record. It's about the hooks. It's not about the riffs. If you want riffs, you've got other albums.
I couldn't hear the hooks over the...
Because
again,
you listen to it like this, brother.
No, the thick that thick fog of
methane.
pretension.
It's the methane that
came back with year 12 philosophy class
yes, dude, yes.
mixed in.
It's me. It was all me.
Yeah. And it was a smell so pungent that
This is the guilty pleasure that I was fearful of.
Yeah, yuggy.
Really,
you should
fearful
feel fearful of this.
This is when I went, oh no, I'm going to put this on the internet.
Well, it's okay.
No regrets. This album is a fucking massive guilty pleasure. People have asked me of guilty pleasure records in the past. Fucking this, dude. Okay. And still really, truly not much guilt. Will happily die on this hill.
Sure. Hey, look, I just outed myself as a total dum-dum, so can't fucking get me.
But yeah, I think Muse giving these takes is a bit rich. I'll say that much. Is a bit rich.
Yeah.
But shit, I don't think anyone's done it better. So
I think, look, let's move on, because I think they do it better on subsequent releases.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, you want to talk about the second?
I want to talk about the second law, baby.
Okay. So after just having my mind blown by like, oh my god, this band really gets me. I started getting into entropy a few years later. I'm like, hey, that's a pretty cool concept about the second law of thermodynamics. And what they do, they go, brah! They go, braka!
Is that you, DJ Entropy? Were you talking to Matt Bellamy in like underage chat rooms or something?
Yeah. Yeah, we're on Vampire Freaks together.
Did you bother? Did you bother with Matt Bellamy?
Oh my god. Okay, this fucking record.
Oh, we're gonna get. I don't want to get Muse cancelled. Let's abandon this.
It's off. It's over. It's over. All right. The second law. This album is a B for beautiful mess.
Sure.
Now I am most excited to hear your take on this record. Okay. Honestly. This is sort of where I jumped off the train. I didn't really get it, but I also didn't explore it enough. I was still so hooked on the Resistance and so not over that record that I wasn't ready to explore this album properly at the time. I don't know how this album works at all. I don't get it. I don't know what this is. Is it marketing? Is it all just a bizarre marketing ploy? I don't know. Chat and friends of the internet, if you have gone this far and haven't listened to much Muse, check out this album just to be fucking bewildered.
Yeah, be for bewildered is right.
Yeah. What I can say in this album's favor is that they sound like they're having so much fun, and that's something that the rest of their catalog has sorely been missing. There's like, Muse is pretty fucking humorless, and a little humor goes a long way.
Yeah.
I don't know if they intended for this album to be funny, but it's fucking hilarious. But that humor is infectious. I don't know if we're laughing with them or at them. I think we're laughing at them. but at least they're having fun. So that's a bonus. So this is the second album in a row that they've opened their album with like a big old, hello world, we're British, innit? With it's like straight up shine your shoes for a copper with Supremacy is channeling this Led Zeppelin Kashmir.
Yeah.
And the album before, like Uprising, is just the Doctor Who theme. They have this real thing for reminding you that they're British, like in their openers now, in case you forgot. I don't know how you could forget, but here we are. Connor, I want to know your take. I really want to know your take.
Okay, all right, okay. I agree with most everything you've said here. This album is fucking hilarious. After The Resistance, I was in such a foul mood, and I was looking at, like, reading the Tyler's second law. I was like,
here we go.
More teenage Luke Ashley. Oh, good. And I was really prepared to hate it. But Supremacy starts, and you're right, it's got the Kashmir kind of thing. Also, has a bit of like Metallica S&M kind of shit going on with the orchestral stuff.
Yeah.
Madness is cool. We're hearing Panic Station right now, and that sold me on it because I was like, this is so fucking off the wall and goofy.
Yes.
I placed this at a B.
Yep.
I placed this at a B as well. I place this at a B for, you mentioned the term Baroque earlier.
Yeah.
Matt Bellamy machine Baroque, motherfucker. Someone needs to reset him because he's fucking, he malfunctioned and just started writing random wacky shit. I don't know.
It is a fucking Looney Tunes album, dude.
It is, and I really like that. There's this like weird like disco shit. Yeah,
Scissor Sisters, I get it. I see this song as either it's like James Brown by way of like The Darkness or Scissor Sisters.
It really sounds like he's malfunctioning with the but I fucking love it. Follow Me, I think the track we're hearing now is this the one where it like kicks in with some like dubstep shit halfway through? Follow
Me, it's 4 to the floor EDM.
Big Freeze is fucking fantastic.
And then, but like after that 4 to the floor EDM, they jump into Animals, which is exclusively 5/4 and 6/4 interchanging. It's like the cycles, the progression is like 21 beats. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How they go from a 4 to 4 beat to that. It's like, who is this for?
Yeah.
Who is this album for?
Yeah.
It's got to be for you, dude, because I don't know. I think they were going for shock value.
Well, it pays off. Dividends, I think. Even the last 2 tracks are instrumental, but they're really, really interesting.
Oh, you mean the title track, which is Title Tracks?
Title Tracks, Unsustainable and Isolated System. It's fucking awesome. I really like it. And again, this coming bold. After the Resistance, I was in such a foul mood after the Resistance that this, like, just by virtue of being fucking wacky and making me laugh out loud. Honestly, like shot it up to a B. I was like, no, shot it up to a C. And then when I was re-listening to it, I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand what they were going for, and I'm not sure. Does this work as an album? Like, I really. It's so bizarre that it's compelling. I'm gonna re-listen to this.
It shouldn't, and I want to re-listen to it as well.
But it was like so much fun. I had more fun with it than The Resistance, certainly, and I had much more fun with it than Showbiz. Yeah. So, solid B for my tastes.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's more goofiness in this album. Some other highlights that I've picked up is Explorers, which is like a lullaby mashup of Queen's Don't Stop Me Now and Wham's Last Christmas. And it works? How? Hello? What are you doing? Hello? What are you doing? Why does it work? Why is this in an album with all of these other things? Like, that climactic title tracks is fucking dubstep and deep house.
It's baffling.
I don't know what they... It's a B. The album's a fucking B, and it should not be a B. The thing that should not be. Christ, it's a... Oh, God.
Right, should we move on before we give ourselves an aneurysm?
I'm about to have an aneurysm. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
D is for drones.
That was quick. Don't fuck around.
All right, so...
Go on.
Okay, so I remember this album on release. It was marketed as like this long-awaited return to form. Yeah. Like they're bringing the rock back. They're back and they're loud and they're heavy and they're angrier than ever.
Yeah, sure.
And they're more topical than ever. And it's like they were supposed to be like this return home after they'd strayed too far from their roots, and everyone had heard Second Law and went, "Hey guys, one question, what the fuck?"
I'm telling you, someone unplugged him, waited 30 seconds, plugged him back in.
So Matt Bellamy cites drones as a modern metaphor for what it is to lose empathy, and by gum, he's right. I feel nothing for Muse anymore. This album is absolutely front-loaded with singles that would otherwise be B-sides on any of the previous records. They just feel like cheap imitations of their albums that worked that they've tried to bring back in. And I think they're still cool tracks, but like Dead Inside feels like boneless leftovers from The Resistance. Mercy is just We Have Starlight at Home with a bit of Queen thrown in there for measure. at the halfway mark, there's this is fucking wild. Oh my fucking god. There's this JFK speech that goes for about a minute.
Yeah.
That signposts the protagonist taking back control of their own narrative. And it's a concept album, of course, because you can't jerk yourself off without worshipping yourself. Can you, Matt? But the thing is, like at that point, Drones just devolves from a concept album into fucking concept soup. It is like the hooks just fucking fall. By the way, like they are dropping like flies. Oh my fucking god! Like we're just left with this flat, flavorless back end of a grey slop album. And I guess that's thematically appropriate. But I don't want to listen to it.
No, yeah,
at all.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Even the album cover is grey and fucking boring and pretentious.
Yes, conceptualized 100, listenable 0.
Yeah. This album, I feel similar to this album as you did about Deflorate last week.
Yeah.
This, again, I reading about the background of this, people hailing it as this return to form. This album does nothing that they haven't already done a million times better on, I would say, even The Resistance. I feel like it's a non-album. And this late in their career, I think that's kind of sad. Fucking modern metaphor for losing interest, dude.
Well, it's like they took this art rock angle, except they're definitively not that at this point. If they tried to do this early in their career, they may have made a case for it. But at this point, it just feels so insincere.
Yeah.
It feels so insincere.
Insincere is right, and also immature.
Yeah,
again, we're still doing this
philosophy
class.
We're still doing this, and we're still beating the same idea over and over.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they've been like, hey guys, we released an album, Breaking the Machine, but you guys you fixed it. I noticed you fixed it. We didn't overthrow world hunger. So can you listen to this one and we can do that?
It's Muse. It's Matt Bellamy clapping in my face for 52 minutes going, we need to talk about this. Get the fuck out of here, Matt. I'm trying to pay rent.
I appreciate the sentiment, but they haven't. But it doesn't feel like they brought anything new.
I read a review of, I think it was The Resistance, but the same sentiment could easily be applied to Drones. A reviewer said, we used to bemoan musicians not writing songs about politics or writing songs that are political anymore. This is a good. This album serves as an example of why perhaps they shouldn't, and I think that's apt.
See, for The Resistance, at least it's about an established work, and it serves a dual purpose in saying, "Hey guys, this album's still relevant, and look, more relevant than ever."
Sure.
Sorry, album. I mean the book's more relevant than ever. Which is a duh, and. Drones, I guess, is their fantasy.
That's the benefit of basing your album on something that's been established as having a timeless quality.
Yeah, as opposed to this.
As opposed to trying to write your own thing and going, look how timeless this is.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I do appreciate the sentiment and some of the story of this album, but it's not executed.
I don't appreciate it.
I want to move on. I don't want to listen to this album again.
I sincerely don't appreciate it. It spoiled my day. Next up.
Oh. Spoil my day too. Spoil harder.
Come on.
Okay, no, don't be like that.
Don't be mean.
Okay, no, it's okay. To Simulation Theory's credit, it does beat out Drones. I rate this one C for corporate. This just is what I think somewhere around the second law, Muse just lost their soul. But then maybe it was earlier. maybe it was the Resistance. Maybe it was Black Holes and Revelations. This album has retroactively made me question how sincere any of Muse ever was beyond Origin of Symmetry.
Wow.
Oftentimes, if there's a poor release, you can reflect on the good old days with fondness, but this just has me staring back with cynicism. So many releases that just feel increasingly C for competent because they pushed out like the lowest possible amount of effort to get 50% of the test and pass. This feels like it was put to a market study, and they created this album from going, okay, how do we create, like, weaponize the Spotify algorithm? The first track is fucking called Algorithm. They're leaning into the outrun element that's currently trendy.
Yeah.
It's full of trap beats. It's just like everything that Muse, how Muse works is not present here. I give it a C and not a D because I don't think I can hate something that's so inoffensive. But it's just that. It's really inoffensive.
Yeah. I think
where I don't like things about drones, here I'm just going, it's just hollow.
Yeah. I mean,
please.
At least with something like drones, or in my case, the Resistance, I can be passionately dispassionate about it. Here, I'm kind of in the same boat. It's a C. There are some moments on here that I go like, this is, again, it's inoffensive. It uses a sound, the outrun stuff that I like, so I kind of don't hate it. But it does feel really manipulative. Yeah, which is funny considering that, like, coming after an album entitled Drones.
Yeah. This is that Rage Against the Machine.
I mean, they got the fucking Stranger Things artist to do the artwork for the cover. And what was I going to say? It feels like, and to its credit, I think there are some fresh sounding. There are some fresh sounds on offer on this album, but the ideas underneath are stale as fuck. Yeah, and uninspired. Yeah,
it's not a particularly dynamic album. Like, Muse works best when it is really dynamic. This is a really like it's just consistently eighth notes of womp 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 womp. It's been done. There are like, don't lean into this genre.
No, if you've got nothing to bring to the table.
This came out in 2018. I feel like 2018 Outrun was already done and dusted, honestly, and it was already milked. I still love it, but I don't want to see every man and their dog jumping on this and trying to make a quick buck.
Somewhere and there's like a deflated, like skeletal cow.
With shutter shades. Yeah.
And Matt Bellamy's kicking it, going, "Come on, give me
get
more.
Another drop." Yeah.
Please, sir. I feel like, look, if we talked about last week with Black Dahlia Murder, Verminous, if that was to be their last album, then it would be a great note to end on. Yeah. God willing, we get more of it. If this was to be their last album, I think it would serve as like a kind of sad and maybe a little bit poetic bookend. Considering Showbiz brought nothing to alt rock but a raised pinky. This brings nothing to Outrun. Then again, a raised pinky. You're bookended by pinkies.
This album makes me like, or makes me love what Origin of Symmetry does so much more. Yeah. I just like that feels so high octane. It's got so much energy, and it feels like they genuinely have something to say. And the music reflects that. Ever since they start branching, even in Absolution, like I put it as an S, but I question it because of how many albums in a row they're just I don't know, playing corporate whilst bemoaning corporate.
Yeah.
Has this always been the case? Is this the pretentious element that I've missed and I'm only now seeing? Potentially.
No. I think it's the.
But it's
the thing that made those early albums have a sense of vitality to them, I think, is that they, as people, were young and their intentions were perhaps more pure.
Yeah, potentially.
I think this is a band that's just still exists. Maybe they didn't think they were going to get this far, and they're like, oh shit, we're still a band, we're still successful, and we're not dead.
Something I can pay, going back to episode 1, Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Yeah.
At least Metallica doing whatever the fuck they want and sticking to their guns. This feels like they're cashing in as fucking hard as they can.
Yeah. And not even leaning hard into the bit that they end up inadvertently bringing something new to it. That's what I resented about this album.
I'm not one to often
I was actually excited. The cover art is so fucking over the top that I thought, oh, surely this is gonna, like, this album promises, the artwork promises something that I don't think it delivers. It falls very, very shy of.
Yeah, it sounds more like the Drones cover.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
No. It's a real, I think it's a real somber end to proceedings.
We've been mean enough to Matt.
Yeah.
All right.
What Muse does in the middle of their catalogue, sonically, like outside of the narrative they may carry, all time stuff for me.
All right. Well, let's start that poll.
Yep.
And let's read.
I can't believe you give Resistance a D.
Yeah,
oh
dude.
my god.
D for dog.
Oh no.
All right, let's catch up on chat. Gucci Hot Wheels said, "I like your hair, boy, slurping noise." And dude, it's Mr. Clean. Thank you. Poodle said, "Connor, please." I spat my coffee, laughing. Lamau. I'm not sure what that was in response to, but you're welcome.
I think slurping noise may be the ramen hair.
Definitely.
I dare say.
Definitely.
It's the
Brian called me based and Muse pilled. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mano, thank you for jumping in. What legends you two are. You're the legend, Mano. Hope you got some sleep, dude. Heath jumps in. Oh yeah, Muse.
Yeah.
Dag at one point says Musings was free and you didn't take it.
Oh,
yeah,
bother.
Yeah.
This is why you get the big bucks.
That's it. I do hunger for the riff. Riz fucking loves watching my reactions to where Luke puts his picks. Some of the reactions were in response to where you put the picks, and some of them were in response to things you said that sounded sexual. So, yeah. Stockholm Syndrome is very, very good. Yeah, Stockholm Syndrome is a fucking sick track, dude. Hey, Soupy, how you doing? If you can say track anything, teen, the album is too long. What do you think of that?
Disagree.
Yeah.
Disagree. I think that, like, the best thing about Drones is that it's 44 minutes long, or 42 minutes long, whatever it is. This is most redeeming quality, but even then, I think it branches into the teens. I think everything they do.
It's a 52-minute album.
Oh, that's a 52?
Yeah.
Oh no, it must be thinking of Simulation Theory then. I think is the 42 one.
Yeah.
Because this is notably short.
Quite short. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Holes is their shortest album. I'm pretty sure. Nights of Sidonia will always be my hype song.
Teens is good. Yeah,
Nights of Sidonia.
Don't take that out of context.
Do you like Nights of Sidonia? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's the song that introduced them to Muse.
Yeah. Cool.
And yes, it has this really. Now that could be their first fun song.
I was going to say it is immensely fun. It has this like the goofy like western spaghetti western quality that it has.
Absolutely,
it's so cool. And the fact that it closes the album again, I'm like, I want to do that again.
It sort of lives outside of the rest of the album. Sonically, I've heard that song is a tribute to the Tornadoes, Matt's dad, and that gallop dun, 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 was stylistically similar to Tornadoes, and that's how they built that song.
Yeah. Foodle at one point said, "I love Muse, and I completely agree with Connor." I think that was in response to my D rating of the Resistance. So thank you.
You grab a D.
The farts were too strong.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, a thick miasma of methane, indeed. When Matt Bellamy had a kid, I was certain the birthing suite was going to have lasers and pyro. Kate Hudson pushes and boom, pyro goes off. And the grunt birthday party sound. Yeah. Oh dear. Riz is going to come for your shoes at some point, or in your shoes.
It sounds like I'm not making any friends today.
Adam says Origin, Absolution, and Black Holes is the Muse Holy Trinity. I would agree. Yeah, those are the albums. I will be revisiting without a doubt. Gladly, I'll be revisiting everything above B. I'll be revisiting. That includes the Second Law, if only to try and understand it.
I'm happy to go over the Second Law a bunch of times. It's so fucking goofy.
We'll have to introduce a segment where we just try and understand the fucking Second Law.
Yeah. Look into the madness.
Yeah. Pearl Jam and that era band suffer the same thing. It doesn't sound convincing to be angry at the world when you're a 50-year-old multimillionaire. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think...
if anything, they're angry at themselves. The world.
I remember, I think the earliest instance of hearing a musician verbalize that about their own work was Trent Reznor talking about 9 Inch Nails and saying, dude, it's hard to be you can't maintain that anger without it killing you.
Yeah.
You know?
Or having still being such a creative.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm here to announce Matt is here in your stream and listen to every word you said. Rids, don't joke. Heath gives it all below D. Geordie, I hope my donation will help the content. Thank you, Geordie. Appreciate it. Knights won the fucking hottest 100. I don't give a fuck what hottest 100 things.
Much appreciated.
All right, well, there we go. Connor or Luke? Connor wins.
Nice.
I win.
Well done,
I
dude.
officially have the fucking correct opinion about this band that I spent a week listening to.
Hey, I took Black Dahlia Murder. It's only fair that you take this from me.
True. I think that's the funniest part of this segment.
I have some impassioned.
You're like, oh, this
wise idea
changed my life, and I'm like, nah, it's shit.
Yeah. Take my money. Yeah.
Funny Eggman.
Yeah. Live for it.
Well, to close this one out, I would like to thank you for getting me. I can officially say that I might not be a Muse fanatic, but I'm a fan. I do. Wow. I will absolutely be coming back to those 3 albums: Origin, Absolution, and Black Holes. Very happily. I'm excited to listen to them. They are all Voss beans for me now.
I'm glad you could absolve your trauma.
Well, this is what I was going to say too. I previously had kind of sad associations with this band and with those albums, in fact, Black Holes and Absolution, absolutely. Where it was the first instance of a friend who we were really close, and then he got a girlfriend and didn't want to hang out with me anymore. And it really, it still fucking breaks my heart to think about that. So I've had this really fucking sad association with this band, and you've helped me form really wonderful memories and relationships with these albums and with these songs. So thank you, my dude. I'd like to give you a hug.
Love that. Love it.
So thank you.
All right, whoever you are, I took your place.
All right. I got to follow this up. I feel like this is my follow-up is, I think, a good one to bounce off this with. And it's my way of saying, I don't hate pretentious people. Some of my best friends are pretentious. I would like to do...
Is it Trigger?
No, I would like to do Enter Shikari.
Ooh, yes. Here it is!
A very weird, very eclectic band, if you're not familiar with them. They put out an album last year that we both gave a spin. Me as a seasoned veteran of the band and with some favourites going in, and you having pretty...
It was the first Shikari album that I consumed.
Yeah.
I'd only known them from singles prior.
Yeah, and we had some opinions on it, and I want to revisit that album and see whether or not my thoughts on it still remain the same, or if I rate it higher, and just go back through their catalogue and see where all of that sits.
Beautiful.
With me as a 28-year-old man and not a 23-year-old boy.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I'm excited. Thank you.
Excellent. You're welcome, dude. Well,
Brilliant.
Thank you all very much for tuning in to this week's episode of Tears Don't Fall. We will see you next time.